Ever wondered what the weirdest foods people eat around the world are? Well, today, we're embarking on a global culinary adventure to discover just that. We'll dive into the origins, preparation, and cultural significance of some of the most bizarre dishes you've probably never heard of. From a delicacy buried underground in the Philippines to a fermented surprise in Sweden, these dishes will challenge your taste buds and broaden your food horizon. Buckle up, foodies. We're about to take your taste buds on a wild ride. First stop on our global food tour, the Philippines, home to balut. Now, balut might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Filipino cuisine. However, this unique delicacy is a staple in the country and has a rich history attached to it. Tracing its roots back to Chinese traders who visited the archipelago centuries ago, balut has since been embraced and made distinctly Filipino. Preparing balut is an art in itself. It starts with a fertilized duck egg, which is then incubated for a period of 14 to 21 days. During this time, the embryo inside the egg starts to form and develop. But it's not yet fully formed when the egg is taken out of incubation, which is what gives balut its characteristic taste and texture. After incubation, the eggs are boiled and then sold from baskets, usually by street vendors who peddle them in the late evenings. Their calls of balut balut echo through the streets, a familiar sound for many Filipinos. But it's not just about the taste. Eating balut is a cultural experience. It's often shared among friends and family, sometimes with a little dash of salt or a splash of vinegar, and always with a generous side of camaraderie and laughter. It's a common sight at social gatherings, where it's consumed with gusto and often paired with a cold beer. Balut is also seen as a symbol of courage and daring. It's often featured in local and foreign reality TV shows as a challenge, pushing contestants to step out of their comfort zones. More than just a food item, balut is a testament to the Filipino spirit, resilient, bold, and unafraid to be different. Despite its unusual nature, or perhaps because of it, this delicacy has carved out a special place in the hearts and stomachs of Filipinos. A delicacy for some, a dare for others. That's balut for you. Next up, we're heading to Sweden, where surströmming reigns supreme. This is not your typical seafood dish. It's a traditional Swedish delicacy that has been a part of their culinary history for centuries. Surströmming is a type of fermented Baltic sea herring. The preparation process is quite unique. It begins with the herring being caught in the spring, specifically during the spawning season. The fish are then salted and left to ferment in barrels for a couple of months. After the initial fermentation, the herring is packed into tin cans, where it continues to ferment for several more months. This fermentation process gives surströmming its distinctive, pungent aroma, which is often described as overwhelmingly strong. The smell is so potent that it's considered one of the smelliest foods in the world. Some even say that it's best to open the can underwater to avoid the initial blast of odor. But don't let the smell deter you. The unique taste is what makes this dish truly special. Surströmming holds a significant cultural place in Sweden. It's traditionally eaten during the late summer, with surströmming premiere parties marking the start of the season. It's typically served with thin, crisp bread, potatoes, and onions, providing a balance of flavors that complement the fermented fish. Despite the strong smell, surströmming is more than just a food item in Sweden. It's a symbol of Swedish heritage, a testament to their resilience and inventiveness. It represents a time when preservation methods were limited, and people had to find ways to make their food last through harsh winters. So while it might not be for everyone, surströmming is an interesting part of Sweden's culinary landscape. It's a dish that tells a story of survival, tradition, and innovation. And remember, the best way to understand a culture is often through its food. So if you're ever in Sweden and want to test your olfactory limits, you know what to try. Our next culinary adventure takes us to Japan, the land of natto. Picture this: small, glistening, sticky beans with a pungent aroma, and a flavor that's as bold as it comes. Yes, you've guessed it. We're talking about natto, a traditional Japanese food made from fermented soybeans. Delving into the history of natto, it's believed to date back over 1,000 years. Some say it was discovered accidentally when boiled soybeans were stored in straw bags, which naturally carry the bacteria that ferment the beans. This humble beginning has led to a food that's deeply entrenched in Japanese culture. Now, let's talk about how natto is prepared. It all starts with soaking and steaming soybeans. Then, Bacillus subtilis, a friendly bacteria, is added to trigger the fermentation process. The mixture is then left to ferment at a warm temperature for about 24 hours. The result? Sticky, stringy, fermented beans that are ready to tickle your taste buds. Natto is often enjoyed as a breakfast dish in Japan, typically served with a bowl of rice. It's also a popular topping for sushi and even makes an appearance in miso soup. This humble bean dish is more than just a meal. It's a cultural tradition that's passed down from generation to generation. Now let's address the elephant in the room: natto's unique taste and texture. It's infamous for its strong, cheese-like flavor and sticky, slimy texture. Some liken it to a pungent blue cheese, others to fermented soy sauce. But one thing's for sure, it's a taste that's hard to forget. Despite its peculiar characteristics, natto is highly regarded for its health benefits. It's packed with protein, fiber, and a rare enzyme called nattokinase, which is known to have heart-healthy benefits. So there you have it. Natto, a dish that encapsulates the adventurous spirit of Japanese cuisine. A dish that challenges your palate and at the same time tells a fascinating story of tradition, history, and culinary innovation. Natto, it's definitely an acquired taste. But once you've acquired it, there's no turning back. Finally, we're off to Australia, where the witchetty grub is a traditional food. Nestled deep within the arid heartlands of Australia, the witchetty grub is a treasured gem of the indigenous Australian diet. But what exactly is the witchetty grub? It's the large white larvae of several moth species. Yes, you heard it right. It's caterpillars we're talking about. The origin of the witchetty grub as a food source dates back to the time of the Aboriginal Australians. In the harsh, unforgiving landscape of the Australian outback, these grubs were a reliable source of protein and nutrients. They were typically hunted by women and children, who would search for the distinctive tracks the grubs leave on the trunk of the witchetty bush, hence their name. Now, you might be wondering, how does one prepare a witchetty grub? Traditionally, these grubs are cooked lightly on hot coals, where they puff up and turn golden. Their skin becomes crispy, while their insides remain soft and gooey. Some people even prefer to eat them raw, as they are said to taste like almonds when uncooked. The witchetty grub is not just a meal, but also an important part of the cultural fabric of Australia. It's a symbol of survival in a challenging environment, a testament to the resourcefulness and resilience of the Aboriginal people. These grubs are often featured in bush tucker tours, where visitors can learn about indigenous Australian culture and try some authentic bush food. Despite its unusual appearance, the witchetty grub is praised for its nutritional value. They are high in protein, low in fat, and packed with essential vitamins and minerals. In recent years, they've even been hailed as a sustainable food source in a world increasingly conscious of the environmental impact of our diets. So, while the witchetty grub might seem unusual to some, it's a delicacy steeped in history and cultural significance. It's a testament to human adaptability and the rich tapestry of food traditions around the world. So if you're feeling adventurous, why not give the witchetty grub a try? And there you have it, a whirlwind tour of some of the world's weirdest foods. From the Philippines' Balut to Sweden's Surströmming, Japan's natto and Australia's witchetty grub, we've seen that weird is often a matter of perspective. Remember, what may seem strange to one culture might be a beloved staple in another. So let's keep our minds and our palates open. If you've enjoyed this culinary adventure and want more, don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. Bon appétit!